Hi guys, welcome back to Box Spread. Okay, this is another fight I want to take a look at today regarding this weekend, and it is a really good fight. It sees Chad Dawson going up against Adonis Stevenson in Canada, I believe, which is going to be a home fight for Stevenson, I think. And Chad Dawson's WBC light heavyweight title is on the line. Now, this fight for me is a very difficult one to call because of where both of these fighters are at. Now, I really do rate Adonis Stevenson. He's a very powerful puncher. But you can question his resume. Has he fought guys who are approaching the level of Chad Dawson? You could argue no. I mean, he faced Don George a couple of fights ago, another banger. That was a real shootout. And I predicted that he would stop Don George, but it did take him a bit longer than I thought, and he actually stopped Don George in the final round. Now, I've heard a lot of rumour going around that many people see this as a very one-sided fight for Chad Dawson. They see this as not even being close. I disagree. I think this is a very competitive fight. I think this is between two of the top guys in the division. I actually think Stevenson is very dangerous as an opponent for Chad Dawson, particularly since Dawson is coming off his loss against Andre Ward by stoppage, and also I do have question marks over Chad Dawson's mental strength. I think I've mentioned that before. It's a big weakness of his, in my opinion, and is something he needs to prove to me, from my point of view, whether he can, keep it together mentally when he's under pressure. I've said before, a big regret for Chad Dawson is that he will, looking back on his career, is that he lost to Jean Pascal. Now, Jean Pascal's got pretty quick hands. He's pretty powerful. Adonis Stevenson is a similar fighter. Now, I feel that had Chad Dawson been a bit more mentally aware in fights, he could have beaten Jean Pascal, and I would probably pick him to beat Jean Pascal if they were to fight again. I don't think Pascal is, if you're a technical fighter like a Bernard Hopkins, like a Chad Dawson, I think you should be handling someone like Jean Pascal, as Bernard Hopkins did. But where is Chad Dawson at right now? How did that loss to Andre Ward, another technical fighter, how did that affect him mentally? How is he going to bounce back from that? If Adonis Stevenson jumps on him and starts hitting him with powerful shots, how does Chad Dawson cope? If Adonis Stevenson is patient, as I think he should be in this fight, and he waits for a few rounds, and then he catches him with a well-timed shot and hurts Dawson, how does Dawson recover? Will he be able to survive? Will he keep it together, or will he lose it going later into the fight? Or will we see Chad Dawson outclass Adonis Stevenson? Will we see Chad Dawson at his best? Will we see a very technically sound Chad Dawson who uses the jab, sets up his punches very well, uses his technique to outbox Adonis Stevenson? These are the questions I have, and which is why it's very difficult for me to think of who wins this fight. When it was first announced, I thought this is an extremely dangerous fight for Chad Dawson, and I thought Adonis Stevenson definitely has a chance to win this fight by stoppage. He can stop Dawson. He has the power to do it. However, we do have a guy here in Dawson who, on his day, is type of guy you think should be able to defeat Adonis Stevenson. He should be able to be good enough to avoid Stevenson, who is essentially a rather one-handed fighter. He's pretty much all left hand. He's power-handed. He's getting stoppages with it, but against a guy who is more technically sound like Chad Dawson, who is able to see this coming and who knows you're coming at me, you're looking for the left hand, Dawson, therefore, in my eyes, should be able to neutralise it. And he should be able to turn the tables and actually force his strengths onto Stevenson. Stevenson has pretty quick hands. He's not one of these guys who's just a slugger. I think he's actually a decent boxer. He's got quick hands. He doesn't really have a jab. He uses that right hand as sort of a measuring tool, if anything, and he flicks it out there. It's not really a strong, stiff jab. But what he does well with it a lot is that he turns it into a quick hook. So a quick hook with you, and then you'll open that up for the left hand to the body. So Stevenson will be looking at you, and then you'll throw the quick right hook, followed up with a left to the body. It opens up the body very well, because if you throw in a hook, the guy's hands come up, particularly with that right hook, the guy's hands come up, naturally to the left side, it opens up the right hand side of the body for that left power hook. That's something that Adonis Stevenson likes to do. He likes to employ something you can try and do in this fight to open up the body with a punch up top. So that's sort of a decoy. He uses that right hand as a decoy. It's a weapon, a decoy to open up for that left hand. So he should be looking for that in this fight. So you look for that hook, the quick hook, and then a power shot to the body. Could be a good weapon for him to use in this fight. Look out for it. And also with the jab, he'll use the jab to just flick it out there to keep the attention of his opponent, and then he's trying to open up that left hand. So everything leads to that left hand for Adonis Stevenson. That's why I'm cautious about picking him in this fight, because I think against a good technical fighter like Chad Dawson, who is more two-handed of a fighter, I think he may struggle. I think that Dawson should be able to neutralise that one hand, and he should be able to start taking over as the fight progresses. Chad Dawson needs to use the jab in this fight. He needs to dominate the power, the war of the jabs. He needs to establish early, my jab's better than yours. He needs to really control distance. He needs to make Adonis Stevenson think twice before coming in. He needs to really use that jab as a measuring tool, really stiff jab. He needs to make sure he's hurting Stevenson with it, make sure it's powerful enough that Stevenson has to think twice before he comes past it. Okay, that's going to be key for me in this fight for Chad Dawson. That's going to set up everything, because that's going to then set up his power punches. It's going to set up him to put combinations together. Another thing with I've seen with Adonis Stevenson is he tends to throw two punch combinations. He doesn't really, he doesn't often go beyond that. He throws very crisp two punch combinations, but beyond that, you don't really have to worry too much. I think that being more one-handed, being not really a large combination puncher, I think that Adonis Stevenson may have limited himself here against a good technical fighter. So I'm expecting Chad Dawson to, if he's at his best, to come in and neutralise those two things, neutralise that left hand of Adonis Stevenson, circle the right way, circle away from that left hand, and employ the jab and set up his own punch as well. And I'm looking for him to be very cautious, because he knows Stevenson's a puncher, but I'm expecting him to cautiously box to a strong decision victory. I think this is a competitive fight, but I think I'm going to choose Chad Dawson to win by decision, but he has to be careful. My question is Chad Dawson underestimating Adonis Stevenson? Because we saw in the press conference he was saying, no one knows you, no one knows who you are, you're basically a nobody, you should be thankful for this opportunity, you're fighting me. Another question I have is, how much will the home crowd support Stevenson? How much more will it bring him up? Will it give him that extra 10% he needs? And also, going on later into the fight, if Stevenson's still around, I'm wondering, will he start getting to Chad Dawson? If he catches Chad Dawson, how does Dawson react? I want to see how Dawson is mentally in this fight. How does he cope mentally? That's my question mark over Chad Dawson. Does he get hit and capitulate? Does he get hit and fight on? Does he go through this? Does he fight through the war? And finally, my last point is going to be about Adonis Stevenson's defence. Again, like I said with Ola Afolabi, Stevenson really relies on reflexes. He's not got the best defence in the world. Just put it this way, he can get hit, okay? His only loss, I believe, was by stoppage to Darnell Boone. He's avenged that loss, but he did get stopped by the guy who was a journeyman at the time. And it does beg the question, Chad Dawson could stop Adonis Stevenson here. He can hurt the guy. The guy's been stopped before. And I've seen, you saw in the Don George fight as well a couple of fights ago, Stevenson can get hit, okay? He can get carried away, he can get a bit wild, he can get hit. Now I'm wondering, if he gets carried away, if he gets a bit wild, will a technical guy, a sound, crisp puncher like Chad Dawson, be able to take advantage? Will he be able to catch Stevenson with some calculated punches and actually hurt Stevenson and close the show? That's another possibility. So, in my opinion, if Stevenson is getting his own way in this fight, I think he's going to, end up getting the stoppage victory. I think it won't need to go the distance. If it goes the distance, I'm siding towards Chad Dawson, because I think that if it goes the distance, we will have seen Chad Dawson get a bit of his own way. And we will see if we'll have seen him put on a good boxing show, and we'll have seen him back to his best. I'm not sure what to expect from this one, but I'm going to go for Chad Dawson by decision. I just think it's a very close fight. I don't think this is as one-sided as people may think. I think Adonis Stevenson is a very tricky customer and a very big challenge for Chad Dawson. But we're going to see. Enjoy the fight on the weekend, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. This is BoxPed, and I'm out.